Peace. Welcome to another episode of Melanin Dialogue. Tanya 23 and my guest tonight. We have with us again Sister Gwen. We have Sister Yvette, Mama Earth, and Brother Raheem with us tonight. And tonight our topic is mental health in the Black community. We have to have discussions on getting it under control because it's on the rise. All ages are affected at this time, but tonight focus mainly on our Black men. And tonight we're going to start with the question, of how do we keep it under control? How do we handle it without or before it can get into the system? Sometimes we need professional help, but there's a way to go about that and have it done in the right way, so that our young men don't keep getting caught up in the system, and we don't want them to have to be in the jails to receive their mental illness help. And so we're going to talk with our lovely panel. I'm going to start with Mama Earth. And oh, actually, I'm sorry, forgive me. Let me just read this quick poem, and then we'll come over to Mama Earth to let her give her perspective on that. Let me see. I don't know if it'll be better if everybody mute their mic, but it's an echo on other side. So just bear with me. Let me try to refresh the app. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Okay, I hope that's a little better. I hear the echo still. So let us move on.
Can I be heard now? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Can you hear?
Yes, everything.
I don't know why. Does anyone have the YouTube open? Does anyone have the YouTube app open? The actual YouTube? If so, you could close it or turn the volume down. Okay, I have a poem to share. Here we go. In the shadows deep where silence reigns, a warrior's heart entwined in chains, a battle waged, not seen but felt, where deepest fears and dreams do melt. When the sons of strength, of valor are born, yet in your eyes a storm. The weight you bear, unseen, untold, a heavy cloak, a grip so cold. Let's weave a tale of light of grace, where every tear finds its embrace. In unity we stand, we fight to chase the shadows back to the night. For you, brave souls, in darkness deep, remember you're not alone to weep. A brotherhood together, strong in our hearts, you've belonged to all along. Let's break the silence, brick by brick, with the words of hope and love that sticks. For every wound, a healing balm. In empathy, we find calm. Black men in strength and sorrow blend. We see your pain, our hands we lend. In your journey, you're not alone, for your struggles in our hearts are sown. So rise, O warriors, with heads held high, beneath the vast embracing sky. Your fight, your pain is ours to share. In love, in hope, we deeply care. For in this world so vast and so wide, let's walk together side by side. Your courage shines, you beacon bright in darkness. You're the strongest light. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe.
And as I
Ashe.
read that earlier, Ashe, that's all we can do is lend a helping hand, but actually, like, be embrace, like, be the ear, be the listener. So, Mother Yvette, Mama Earth, I'm gonna mute my mic while you speak, and then we'll go over to what happened to Sister Gwen. Okay, well, when she comes back, we'll add her. So after Mother Yvette, Mother Earth, we're gonna have Brother Raheem.
When we look at mental health in the community, it's so vast and so wide of the different reasons. You have post-traumatic syndrome, trauma. You have those that we discussed earlier who have served as in the military. And then we have COVID. We have so many wars to fight when it comes to mental health. And we have to be able to arm ourselves with the necessary tools to be able to be assistance to them. Me having the holistic practice, doing Reiki and doing the trauma release and doing the spiritual work with those who have gone through traumatic experiences and that are dealing with mental health, I have to address the trauma that they have experienced and give them permission to be able to say what their trauma is. Once you recognize what it is, that's the first step of and recognizing it and not ignoring it is the first steps to getting it resolved or healing it. So it's so many reasons and there's so many variables of why people are suffering from mental illness, and it kind of it's overwhelming to those healers, because then you have to find, or you're trying to find a solution, or you're trying to find a way to help them or guide them through their healing space. So that's what I'm dealing with now. I met a young man that was a patient this past Wednesday, and he was in it. He was reading his chart. He was in and out of mental institutions over and over again, and just talking to him, you come to the realization is that he suppressed trauma from his childhood for so many years till it became so much. It became like a bubbling, boiling over pot. And my discussion with him is to acknowledge what you've been through, give it a voice, acknowledge that it happened, and that's your first step of getting better with dealing with your mental health. It's so many reasons why people are suffering from mental disorders in the community. So many reasons.
I agree with what you're saying. I also think that it's, at some point we have to recognize that the black community is so hush about things that go on in our lives.
That is
You know,
true. That's true.
we've got this thing where we don't, as, when things happen in childhood to us in families, we're told keep it in the family. You don't talk about it. You don't do this. You don't do that.
That's true.
So a lot of our men and women, a lot of us, period, are suffering from things that happened in our childhood that our families never dealt with, and we were never allowed to deal with. So
Hmm.
as so as we're beginning to, I think it's a good thing that now we're beginning to give permission or to say we recognize this is going on in our community, and we now have to stop keeping it just hush hush. We have to start talking about these issues and allowing people to say, "This is what happened to me as a child. This is what happened to me as a wife. This is what happened to me as a person," and
I
begin to deal with it. Because as long as we keep saying that these things are hush hush or forbidden conversations and that kind of thing, taboo to talk about. We got to get rid of those words because that's what's killing our community now. That's what's making us suffer so much because we don't bring it out in the open. So the more forums like this that we can have, the more opportunities like this we can have to allow people to come and see that they can begin to share without guilt, without shame,
hmm
that these
I
traumas have
agree.
happened to them and that they are not at fault. You know, a lot of people put themselves at blame, and a lot of times they're not at blame, but they hold that blame within themselves. So I think the more we can have forums like this and give opportunity to people to see videos or speak out on videos, we'll begin to heal as a community.
I agree. I agree with you, Miss Gwen. It's time to break the silence.
Yes,
As long
yeah,
as
and
we
that
keep
was
it
in
suppressed,
that poem.
yes,
That was the most important thing that I heard in the whole poem was about breaking the silence.
yes, ma'am. Yeah, I agree. I agree with and for years, you hear that's nobody's business. Whatever happening to our family, that's we keep it in the family. And no one ever discuss how we're going to heal it or to acknowledge that it happened. It's always been kept quiet. I agree with you on that one, Miss Gwen.
I know in my family personally, I've had two different situations. One happened while I was incarcerated, and it wasn't even revealed to me until I came home and I dealt with it then. And then the second situation was with my granddaughter, something that happened. And then second situation was with another granddaughter. So it's like, why did you keep those things quiet? Because we should have exposed the person, the whole situation, because the victim and the perpetrator both needed help.
Yes. And
Yes,
when you
that's
got
very interesting. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mama Eartha. I'll hold
and
my
when you
five
yeah, when
times.
you don't deal with the situation, when you do not acknowledge that something happened, it keeps going. It
Yeah.
that victim end up that victim victimized and that victim victimized and victimized, and it becomes that family secret. There's some family with secrets, with incest, molestation that has been kept quiet for many years. I know a few families that have brought that to me, and they have never discussed it or neither discussed getting help for it.
I agree. When you
I say I
mentioned
totally agree.
Brother Raheem, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You could go ahead and give your comment.
I just want to say first and foremost, I believe that the black community as a whole we deal with a little bit mental health, or maybe an enormous amount, and from sexual, children being molested, passed on generational curses, to brothers and sisters being incarcerated. Like one of the sisters mentioned, she was incarcerated. I know brothers and sisters that was incarcerated, and they are not the same from when we were when we was childhood. And they'll clearly tell me like, "Yo," they call me Rob, or they be like, "Raheem, hey, pray for me, bro." You know what I'm saying? And they still battling certain things that they seen while they was incarcerated, from men being raped. You know what I'm saying? Like there's brothers who go straight to prison. The first day in, they get raped, and they could be the toughest dudes on the block, but they still get dealt with that way. And that's mental health. And there's brothers and sisters who's in the military who've seen death. They could be in the military for whether it's Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard. They could be in the military from 1 year to 30 years. And that first year, you could be in Iraq, or you could have been in Kuwait, or you could have been in Afghanistan, and 3 of your comrades died. They got shot, or they died in a bombing. That's mental health. So a lot of people are really dealing with their mental health within the Black community as a whole. There are a lot of blacks and a lot of brothers and sisters who are veterans who are home, and they're in and out the VA hospital. Me, I deal with pain in my shoulder, so I see them. You know what I'm saying? I see them coming in, and I see them going through the psychiatric counseling. You know what I mean? Me, fortunately, I was in the Navy. I was on a naval ship. We didn't see any combat. But I do know brothers who committed suicide because they couldn't be out to sea. One boy hung himself in the machine shop. Everybody in the machine shop came to me, who worked in the machine shop. Imagine coming to your job in the morning and your coworker is hanging because he killed himself. So that's another mental health effect that goes on in our community as far as military veterans and the drugs. A lot of addicts. You know what I mean? I have family members who were addicts, you know what I'm saying? And they are off the drugs, fortunately. A lot of my elders are off the drugs, and they still battle with mental health. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming out of the 80s and the 90s era where they were smoking crack. That crack, excuse my language, it effed up the Black community thoroughly. And so a lot of people are coming out of that period, that time frame, and they might be functional. We know a lot of functional people, but their mental health is shot out. And so what I believe is that what we have to do is set up programs and institutions and have a building where our youth could be able to come to and get counseled. And at the same time, the adults in the community, in the Black community, because you know how people say, you need to go to counseling. Go to counseling. You hear that all the time, but we have to take the initiative and do that ourselves for our community. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a professional counselor, mental health counselor, but I know I could talk to people, and at the same time, I wouldn't mind going to other people to speak about certain things I went through and I seen. Because I seen my friend Rodney Gibbs when I was 18 years old. He got killed right in front of me because he was arguing with the Arab, the corner store man, and Rodney was drinking. He had a drinking problem, but he was incarcerated too prior to that. He did 4 years, and so he came home. He was drinking. He's buff, and little did I know he stole the beer from the corner store. I didn't know that till afterwards, but they got to arguing, and Rodney spit in his face, even though Rodney was dead wrong for spitting in his face. The Arab man went and got his gun, shot Rodney in the head, and I was right there, and Rodney's homeboy was dead. And I was just pulling up at that store to vacuum out my car because they had the 85-cent vacuum machine. I don't know if y'all remember how everything used to be inexpensive back then. Like gas used to be $5-10. But they had an 85 vacuum machine, and I just pulled up there because we just came from me and my girlfriend during that time, we just came from the beach. And I ran into Rodney. Rodney was my uncle's best friend. And so I was 18. I joined the Navy probably like 6 months later because I was on the debt program. I still think about that. I'm a grown man now with children, you know what I'm saying? But anybody who knows me, they know Rodney too, because I tell that story. That's part of my mental health walk that I'll be able to express to people like, hey, watch how you move with alcohol. Definitely don't be spitting in people's faces. And at the same time, just pray when you wake up in the morning, man, because you never know. Life is short. Rodney was 24. No, Rodney was about 27 years old. Rodney was 27 years old. He had his whole life in front of him. And so there's several times where I was out to sea, I'm thinking of Rodney. You know, I ride by the graveyard sometimes. I turn down the music. I'm thinking of Rodney. And so the mental health in the Black community is very strong. It's very something we have to work on. And main thing is we got to have a headquarters. We got to have institutions and programs where the youth and the adults to be able to attend.
I move around a lot, and I'm beginning to see that in our community we are starting to deal with it, especially Black men themselves are starting to put themselves out there more as counselors and peers, and to talk to these young men who are out there on the streets and on the corners. I'm beginning to see uh, behavioral health, and I want us to be reminded that everything is a hustle in this country. Everything is monetary in this country, and they monetize everything. And right now, we have to be aware that mental health in the Black community is being monetized. Everywhere you turn around, you're seeing behavioral programs. Behavioral program. Everybody's using that word now in their program, in their nonprofits. You're starting to see them springing up all over in our communities. Beware. We don't own those companies. You know,
You're
we got to
exactly right. There's
beware
a
of
lot of
all these
nonprofits that take
programs. You
advantage
know,
of the
every time
community.
that something happens in our community, all of a sudden you see all these companies springing up. We got to make sure that they are really there to benefit our country and not our people, and not there to benefit financially themselves.
They never
It
are.
starts where we
Yeah,
at.
that's the thing.
It starts right where we at.
It's calling like you could be like a situation called stalling out. It's like you have a mouse in a cage and you just keep blowing smoke in it and it moves into one section trying to get good air and then you smoke that out and then it moves to another section until it just can't do anything anymore and it tries to escape but it can't. So that's the thing. We go running into their hands and we all know what happens there. They do have a method of psychology that they can put one through. It's mental programming. But then the first thing they want to do is throw you on medication. And then
Correct.
some of those
Correct.
people really ain't the same no more after they get a hold of that medication. I've seen the effects of Ritalin and different things like that. I actually worked in a facility that dealt with mental health, but it didn't just treat men, it treated females also. And yeah, it doesn't seem like it's the best option, but it is an option. But for our people, I want to say it would be like a grassroots thing. I wrote down something called a bullet point called counselors versus life coaches. Us adults and the adults have to get our stuff together so that we can actually help someone, or even if it's a listening ear. But if we're running around drinking and worried about partying and clubbing and this and that, like we're just preoccupied with stuff, and our families are hurting. They're paying the price. Like the young man in the video said, he was maybe in his 20s when he figured out things wasn't right, so he had to figure this out on his own. Meanwhile, he probably showed signs all along. And being parts of families, we have to pay attention to one another and actually care about one another, because in a lot of Black families, we really don't give a damn about one another. This one don't talk to that one. That part of the family don't deal with it. It's a lot of factors, and we have so much separations that we need to do checkups on one another, and it definitely needs to start with us, like a grassroots type of thing. but we also, because we have plenty of nurses in our community, we have psychologists in our community, we need to gather these people that are willing to give their time and be like a resource. Well, if we got somebody in a crisis or whatever, can we come to you? Can we call you? Like, build some sort of a network of professionals, our own professionals, kind of like how doulas do their
Doulas,
situation.
yeah,
Have like a group of professionals, like a team. We could call it the extreme team or whatever. You know, it'd be a psychologist on the group. It might be a nurse on the group, an EMT, or, you know, we have to, and there's plenty of us. Black people are everything. You know, we just got to come together and say we want to donate our time to this service. And then that's when we can begin to do some work. We get the skills, whatever, you know, we get the licensing or skills from them, but we bring it back home. You know what I'm saying? And begin to help a group of little boys somewhere in the school, in the neighborhood. You know, there's a plethora of ways that once you get the resource that you can utilize it. But I feel like a practical step is how we approach it. You know, if we have someone in our family, a young man or whatever, let's begin to take time, because we know, you know, you can spend a little time with a person to find out where they're at. You know, children and whatnot. We see the children lashing out. Everyone seems to be, you know, even the ones that we claim are mentally okay are starting to show their own signs of depression just from life, how it's going for a lot of us.
I'm glad to see that our some of our rec centers are opening back up, and maybe some of the after school programs are opening back up, and we can insert ourselves into these institutions, because if we don't, that's where our kids are going to end. You know, they're going to end up in the criminal justice system. We're going to have to, like, put ourselves in a path, and like you say, create avenues where we can be there to talk to our kids, where we're available. We can let even like the police departments know that there are organizations that are willing, when we get those domestic abuse calls, you know, that not you don't just send the police, you send a counselor, you send somebody who can talk to those people, you know. So they're starting to do that. So I think that if those of you all, I'm not, but those of you all who are trained in holistic methods and stuff, uh, I know, I know it seems hard, but at least maybe you can let churches or schools or somebody know that you're available. That if they know of a person, if they know of a situation, that you're available to come in. And, you know, we just got to put our own people as the solution. We can't always keep running to Hopkins and all these other different places, University of Maryland, because a lot of times they're looking at clinical stuff and not looking at the realistic stuff of what's going on in our community.
Yeah. I was looking at religion. I wrote it down on how it plays a part, because when you look at our families, most of them have some sort of religion, but it's not being effective on having them help, because, you know, the children are coming from all of our families. You know, the mentally ill, they are experiencing rape, molestation, all of these different things in so-called religious families. So I would say that is not the solution, but we could probably go in through the churches so we can have access to the numbers of people if they would let us in. You know, a lot of times these pastors don't even want that. for your congregation, you know, for the people to actually be healed.
They're not receptive.
But it's a
lot of
you said
churches
it's
are
not
receptive.
right.
Yeah, they're not
That's
receptive
been my
to a holistic
experience.
approach. They want everything under that religious umbrella. They don't want to take it, approach it holistically, because
That's
it's not
actually
something.
helping,
Mhm.
yeah, to keep our people in bondage. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was looking at the fact that there is no holistic treatment center for mental health or for addiction. We see them, they go into these facilities and they put them on manufactured medication rather than an herbal approach. And
That
they
really
rather give them
frustrates
that. And what those medications do is numb it. It don't take it away. It just numb it. It stops them from thinking about it. It has an effect on the brain where it stops them from thinking about their trauma. It stops them from thinking, but after the medication comes down, here it comes back again. And because it hasn't been eliminated. It hasn't been relieved inside of them. They didn't speak about it. They talk about it to therapists, but the therapists also give them Adderall. They also give them Zoloft. They give them all these medications that causes other reactions, rather than to just let them cry about it, scream about it. Oh, don't cry about no, we don't want you to cry. We want you to be here. Take this happy pill, and then go on about your day. So what happens when you can't get the happy pill? Because that's what I get at the clinic. I'm on the phone with patients, delegating with them. Their insurance is not going to cover this amount of medication, but it will cover 30 days. They want 90 days, but the insurance is only covering 30 days because the medication is supposed to be taken as needed. They don't think that you want to take it every single day, but then you need it every single day, because I'm thinking about my trauma, my childhood sexual trauma. I had an uncle raping me, and the thoughts keep going. And there's triggers when I see a person walking down the street that looks like him. Let me pop a pill. How is that a medication? That's, to me, I sincerely believe if you give a person that open space to say how they felt, because that's what I do with my clients. When I'm dealing with a client who has went through domestic violence, I'm the perpetrator. Speak to me and tell me how you feel about what I just did to you. That's how I get them to talk about it. I'm the perpetrator. Don't see me. See me as the person who just hit you because you disrespected them by saying something. How did that make you feel? How did it feel when I hit you? Talk to me as if you're talking to the perpetrator, the person who abused you. And so that empties out your soul. I don't speak against medication, but then the medication has to be balanced. It has to be balanced with them eliminating their soul or what has been tormenting them.
Like you said, the holistic approach would probably be best for our community, because the Adderalls, the Percocets, the Xannies, that's pharmaceutical addiction. You know what I'm saying? And I remember during the Afghanistan war, where they was focused on the poppy fields in Afghanistan. In 2001, prior to 2001, the opioid epidemic wasn't high. Now the opioid epidemic is skyrocketing, and they got the opioids straight out on poppy fields out of Afghanistan. So it was a plan where they basically wanted the people to be addicted to these medications, and that's part of basically Bill Gates and them and Big Pharma. That's what they call it, Big Pharma, where they're making billions. And they've been making these billions off the medications. And you go like Kensington, Philadelphia, Baltimore, go downtown Baltimore, and you'll see black, white, Hispanic, everybody's addicted to something, and it's
Yeah,
they looking like
on
zombies.
every
Like I
corner,
said earlier.
on every corner, there's a yeah. In every neighborhood, there's a somebody to, every neighborhood, like you say, brother. In every neighborhood, there's somebody ready to put you on medication, put you on Advil, Percocets, whatever it is, chronic, quit, cool, whatever they call that stuff. But anyway, but we need to begin to see if we can't figure out a way how we can open up opposite every one of those places. We need to put a place across the street, a holistic place to give somebody an alternative. I know it seems like, but we're gonna have to start doing that, sisters and brothers. We're gonna have to start starting a house, renting a house, and put up a holistic place right across from that place that's doing the medication, and
Yes, we're
give
gonna
our
have
people an
to.
alternative. And I think
Yeah,
it's something that we need to really start to explore a physical place and start looking at doing this, because we come to these group meetings, we come to these shows and talk, and we talk and we talk. But at some point, we got to get up, stop talking, and say, "Hey, let's open up the first alternative, holistic place for not just substance abuse but mental health."
what comes along with that, what I was thinking is my experiences, we would be at war with the medical industry right off the bat with that. And so the challenges that you face with opening up these places is licensing. So, like I said, we have to deal with people that are already nurses that deal with these mental illness, professional people that can come together because number one, they already have licensure for working in that field, and it has to be like a voluntary type of situation. So there's a center, okay, a holistic health center. Let's just call it. Everyone inside is a professional. They are donating a certain amount of time. So the place has to be a not-for-profit organization. That way we can filter time instead of money. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And
right.
if we could build it on that system, then they can't stop us. Otherwise, they come with the fees, the licensures, and
But
you gotta
that's
have
what
this and that.
we're gonna have. I don't know how, but I hope this is the beginning of that dialogue to start to look at it seriously. Let tonight be the beginning of that dialogue, and each of us go and figure out what we can find out about it. And next time we come back next week, maybe we'll know a little bit more about how to do it. But we're gonna have to just begin to do it.
Yeah.
Because in every neighborhood there's a Suboxone clinic, there's a methadone clinic, there's somebody giving out medication for substance abuse. For somebody
That's
giving out
already
medication
like
for
a
mental
zombie.
health.
Yes, I see the people with the boxing, the slobbing. They walk, it's zombifying. And imagine they put a child or an adolescent on something like that, and they quick to put. We already know they quick to put all the people on medication. That's what they do.
Correct, correct. All those places are just legalized drug dealers. That's all they are, legalized drug dealers.
Yeah.
They do that in the
And the
schoolyard for the
synthetic
kids.
stuff is worse than the real stuff. You know what I'm saying? What they create in them labs, it messes you up on a DNA level. You know what I'm saying? They're going straight for the genes. So the first step is doing the research. It's always doing the research on how we can make it happen. And then step number 2 is always resources. Always money. We can solve a lot of problems if we have the resources. I was just telling a friend that if I had a business idea for the longest time, in my mind, everything is already set up. All I need to do is get the resources. And then I would quantum leap from thinking about it into actually having it. And it's always resources. in my perspective. It's always that. It's not a problem of creativity. I'm creating up the wazoo, but
Well, they've got
is the
some
wall.
resources now that are
Yeah,
giving
I
funding.
gotta get hands on them. You know what I'm saying? So that's the next step for me, trying to gather resources. Once we get a certain amount of resources, we can do a lot of work. We can split this up for that category, that, and let things
I know
begin
on my
to work.
end,
But right now, we're still in the research stage, and we
no,
need
I
to.
hear him. We're looking for a location. We're looking for a location like right now as we speak, like a low rent building we can afford, and we'll be paying out of pocket, of course. And then that building alone is not just headquarters for a movement, but it's headquarters for the youth, where we're gonna do youth events. And at the same time, like people traveling in and out of state, they say you got to go to North Carolina to go visit your family. And I asked you, like, hey, can you speak to the youth this Saturday? We're gonna have a group amount of youth come up, and that's the whole purpose of us getting the headquarters, where we'll be able to reach the community even more. Because just like the sister said, like, we can do dialogues all day. Like me, I like talking. I don't mind talking, but I like making things happen. That's what we got to do within our youth. I feel like my generation now, we learned the blueprint from our elders, so we got to take the blueprint and run with it and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole purpose of programs and institutions. We got to have places where our youth can come to. Like just the other day, we was in Richmond, Virginia the other day, and we rode by the Boys and Girls Club, completely empty. You know what I'm saying? Looked like that building was vacant. You know what I'm saying? Remember we had that dialogue a few weeks ago about the Boys Club, right? So that popped in my mind when I saw it yesterday. So we got to basically do it for ourselves. Like, you know what? We can't rely on the government to focus on our youth no more, because they dropped the ball. Ever since they took out trades out of our community, the electricians, the plumbers, the HVACs, and basically the healthcare operators out of the community, they don't care. The Boys Club went after that. They got gyms everywhere. They got YMCA for them everywhere. They don't got nothing for our youth. Then we got to go to our city council
Right
to
now,
build a rec center.
yeah, that's true. And right now, as far as like the trade situation, a lot of our young men are becoming truck drivers. As you can see, there's a wave. Every big truck I pass, there's a young black man driving it. And I'm like,
Salute to them. Yep.
they
Yep.
swear
Yep.
18-wheelers. Let me tell you, my son is one of them also. And
Yep.
I'm
It's
just
good
glad
money in the
that they
trucking
went.
business. It's good money.
They went there. They said they're blocking us over here. We're gonna get in here. You know, they made the program that he got in. I think it was like a 8-month program or something like that. And then he got, you take the test and you get the license and whatnot.
Take the CDL test.
It cost him $500. It wasn't cheap. But he was able to work and live with a family member to get up enough money, graduate. He didn't play no games. He got the certificate and hit the ground running. And mentally, that saved him. And a lot of times that's it. In the video, the guy talked about him having a bachelor's degree and his wife moving out west to pursue her education, and he wasn't able to find a job due to racism out there out west, because that's what it was.
He's from Winston-Salem. North Carolina.
Yeah, he became suicidal because of it. And just think about how many of us get discriminated on jobs when we go on these interviews and whatnot. Or when we get on the job, discrimination somehow. We know we're being discriminated. It's not something that we're going to mention to everybody else, because they're going to say, oh, we're just nitpicking and whatnot. We don't know what we're talking about. Everything in the book, but what it is. And so this is another area where we're absolutely doing operations, because the mental illness at the end of the day, when you trace it back, whatever kind of way, it had to do with our people being subjugated to slavery and oppression. And the thing is, mental illness help is the highest right. You know, you got to have a good insurance to get a decent mental health help.
Right. And you know, 75% of our community
not
don't
just
even have
for
insurance.
Medicaid, they actually
You know, 75% of our community
all
don't have
kinds of
insurance.
blocks and stumbling blocks. But we tear them down by doing it ourselves. Like I said, we go to their schools. Many of us are educated. I myself hold a degree and many skills as far as office management goes. Many of us can get in where we fit in, but we got to come together and start solving these problems. And for this, it's got to be on a professional level. I actually did a temp job at a psychiatric facility here in Baltimore City a while ago. That was a place of Black professionals that worked with mental health. But when I got there, they were on their way out of business. They were struggling. They couldn't stay open. And so they closed soon after. Very sad, but I saw they were trying. And the problem is,
It was a group of doctors who was doing
money.
psychological advisory.
Yeah, it was a psychiatric group of psychologists on PhD level that were dealing with some severe cases, and it meant most of them were youth and like young adults. And when I got there, I was a tip in the human resource department, and I was the only employee in the whole resource department. And my job was to organize all the paperwork and update the forms and whatnot for the employees to, you know, fill out to get their little paycheck. A lot of the psychiatrists without pay for months till I got there. That's how, you know, Black business has to straighten up too. We do be doing some shabby business with the paperwork when it comes down to having the paperwork. And when you're doing that type of work, you gotta have to shit together, because they gonna send their people in there.
So, but like the nonprofits and all that, right?
You know what I'm saying? They got inspectors and whatnot. Yeah. So there's always something, but I did see them trying. There was a facility like that. I forget the street it was on too.
You're right though. We gotta have certified specialists, certified doctors who professional and went through training for it, went through years of training for it, and can speak. You know, because that's the only way they be able to engage.
That too, and actually, the nurse practitioners, the psychiatric nurse practitioners, do more work than the darn psychologists. You know what I'm saying? I think in a facility they are acceptable to see patients. You know what I'm saying? They're there a lot of the times. They work under like the psychiatrists. Psychiatrists will be off somewhere else, and the nurse practitioners in the office doing all the work. But
I know
yes,
out here we're gonna put in the work. We're gonna get that building though. So, and I know everybody live within.
That's actually
300 miles of it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
much manifestation energy.
That's my main goal within the next 3 to 6 months. And I know everything.
Now, what area are you in?
New Hampton, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. But we looking at Richmond. We looking at everywhere in the 7 cities where we find a good location, and we're gonna get it though.
Yeah. Another option that I see for the state of Maryland is what's it called? Not transitional housing. What's it called again?
Group homes?
Not a group home. It's actually people that have mental illness. I forget the name of the homes, but you can get the certification if you own a home. You can turn it into a house where you're housing these people. You
Yes.
just have to take them to their appointments and whatnot. And most of them get Social Security already.
Yep. Yep. I got a buddy
Not
from Detroit.
transitional housing. I forget the
I got
name
a
of
buddy
it.
from Detroit. Me and him were stationed together. He does that out here in Norfolk. When he got out the Navy, he retired though, so he had the money already at his house and everything. So he
Yes,
retired. Him and his wife did
it's actually good. It's actually a good income.
It's good. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's been doing it
Somebody
for
I
5
knew
years.
acquired like 3 houses doing it.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, we all have an echo. StreamYard is gonna hear it from me.
Tell him
I'm
bear
gonna get a
with us.
month free after this show. Mama Earth, do you have any comments?
I didn't hear that part. What you say?
I was asking if you had any more comments. A lot of you may not know, but if Mama Earth can share, because she actually has a lot of experience in this area, so she can share.
A little too much. I have personally a son who is dealing with mental illness, and he at times feels like he's unreachable. Me being a holistic practitioner and being in the medical field, it's like I'm mom, and I'll tell him you have to take away the mom part and see the help, but he can't separate the two. So I definitely am looking for help for him. He's actually in Virginia Beach right now, and he is having I believe he is having episodes at this current moment, talking to my youngest son who came past today. I believe he's having episodes and he needs immediate attention, but he will not go. So the system actually works against you. It gives the one who needs the help permission. You have to give them permission to help you.
Right.
If he says if he says that he don't want to go, I can't force him. The only way I could have forced him when he was in this state was to do a emergency petition, and that's only for 24 hours. You know, so and even and if I was to first call for help and tell them of the situation, he still has to give them permission to come and talk to him. If he says I do not give you permission, they have to go. So if they were in their proper mind, should they? You know, that's what they are working on now. Is I was looking at something and they were saying that the person who needs the help, they're trying to take away the part that they have to decide to go and get the help. Because if I'm not, I mean, to them, they're normal. Because he often says there's nothing wrong with me, it's something wrong with y'all. To themselves, they think that they're thinking is normal. Though it's erratic, it's very volatile, they still think that they're the way. So how can they possibly make a decision to go get the help when they don't think there's nothing wrong with them?
Right. At some point, I don't know what they talk about, because it varies per state. It varies by the state. Like in New York, if I'm his mother and I see him in distress or whatever, I feel like that I could make the call, and on my judgment, there they come. And I think it's like that here in Maryland too, because like we had a mentally ill young man having an episode, but he had a night. His mother called here they come, but then it was an interaction between the cops and the kid, and it turned out in him getting shot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's hard, but it varies by the state how you can intervene. But if you were to call like 911 in that state and say, you know, this person is having a mental episode, and then it's in their hands, and hopefully they treat them with respect. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing as Black people that we never can be sure of. We want to get the help. We go calling him, and then it.
There were many times the 911 was called, and as soon as they arrive, that person becomes completely normal. I'm fine. I'm good. And so they're saying, do you want to go to the hospital to talk to someone? No. And they leave.
And then they're back to the.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. They people who suffer from mental illness, it's not that they're not articulate or intelligent. They're very smart. They can switch. Sometimes they can just, they can go ahead and they can go from being erratic to I don't know what you're talking about. You know,
they're manipulative. That's what they are. They're manipulative.
Exactly. They can manipulate.
They're very manipulative.
They function very well.
To me, that seems like it has a spiritual component when they do that, because it's like they're consciously manipulating. To me, that
they don't want to go nowhere.
It's a psychosis, but for them to connive and whatnot, that's when they get into spiritual to me. You know what I'm saying? Like the imbalance is actually working for them.
It's really.
It just seems like there's a spiritual component to it.
Well, it's spiritual warfare we're fighting for sure.
Yeah.
But like the brother said, you know, we must start taking initiative and set these kind of places up. You know, Mother Earth, I hear you're doing some good work with the women when you were working down at the library. So that was a good thing. I mean, good things about what you were doing there. So hopefully it can continue on.
Yeah, definitely salute to the UNIA.
Yes, salute. Absolutely.
I was definitely in tune. Y'all had that on live.
Get involved as well. Yes, absolutely. And see, as a mom, I went through a point where my oldest was going through his, they call it rites of passage, but he was not acting balanced for a while. And I always get, he talks about when I had him admitted for a psychiatric evaluation. And at that time in the facility, you got to be with those in there that really had some seriously deep psychiatric problems. And he was like, Mama, you put me in there with the super psychiatric people and this and that. And I mean, they were like really off the chain and whatnot. And yeah, he had the full evaluation. The doctor said there's nothing wrong with him. Like he's completely passed. So you consciously open up and doing all this craziness out there in the street playing with guns and thinking about what you gonna do and all of this stuff, and that's supposed to be normal. I said, so if this psychiatrist said that you are okay when you go back to that behavior, I'm gonna get to my behavior. And mine is kind of physical. You get the boot in ass now. But see, you messing around. You got the school calling me. You got the police chasing you. You got me having to leave work early, and you're breaking the family down with this craziness because I was a single mom. I said something got to be wrong with his brain. We had him committed right in a psychiatric spot, and they had him there for a week doing their little evaluation.
He was probably going through.
After that, he got his shit. Yeah, he still got into some stuff.
I'm talking straight mental health when it comes to my son. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I mean my son, and I can equate it to being a spiritual warfare because my ex-husband's side of the family, all of them deal with some type of mental health something. Either they're dealing with bulimia or they're dealing with uh definite psychosis, or they're dealing with paranoid schizophrenia. Paranoid schizophrenia runs rampant in my ex-husband's family. So I see that in my oldest son. When he thinks that someone is chasing him or someone is trying to set him up, that's a direct mental disorder. And it traveled through the family's bloodline. That's therefore we equated to that spiritual warfare, because it traveled from somewhere, and my son has inherited that mental health. My ex-husband had mental health. His dad had paranoid schizophrenia. He was an exhibitionist. Certain things that I found out through my in-laws. My ex-husband actually killed himself through Vicodin and alcohol, numbing the pain, quieting the pain. He suffered in silence. He didn't say, exactly what was going on with him, but I believe that it was transferred from their bloodline. So now my son is dealing with the same thing. Someone's chasing him, someone's after him, someone's trying to set him up. I stole $1 million from him. I said, well, excuse me. Those type of things. So you don't feed into it because you know where it's coming from. So in that, we have to find out how we have to fight these wars on both angles. We have to fight it strategically. We have to fight it spiritually, and we have to fight it with understanding where they're coming from, giving them that space to set.
I was looking at a young mother. Well, she wasn't that young. Maybe in her mid-30s or so, but she was dealing with a young man, her son, that was having an episode, and he was real strong, and he was like in his teenage times, and she was trying to talk to him, and she grabbed him and he whisked away, and then he did something, he pushed her, and he went up against the wall and whatnot, and I was like, wow, that's a lot to deal with. And so she was forced to call the EMT. He's having an episode, whatnot, and then they got to strap him down in a thing, and he's going nuts or whatever, and then they give him a shot, and then he calms down. And then the answer is the shot temporarily until he wakes up. But something like that is definitely a chemical imbalance, and so you probably won't be able to get around medication. Like, not every case can we counsel and life coach away. Like for someone that's been sexually abused, or they're going through something that was done to them. A lot of them, or they went to war or something and they developed it. But a lot of the people were born with the chemical imbalance. And so there is no talking or praying out of it. You got to take the medication to be stabilized. And this could be like
medication. The medication that they give them has poison in it. It kills their brain cells. It causes them to have early stages of dementia, Alzheimer's. So if we're going, I'm not against medicating. You have herbs like ayahuasca. Those who have dealt with schizophrenia, anxiety or depression, they're finding it beneficial to try the herbal approach, and they're taking those herbs on a regular basis, and after a while they're actually weaning themselves off the usage of the herbs, and knowing then their brain is being stimulated and there's a chemical imbalance that's balancing out. But I don't go against medication. I go against what type of medication.
Right. And its effects, right?
Yeah.
Some of it destroys the kidneys, the liver.
It destroys the kidneys. Sometimes they produce children that has they're not able to either produce or they produce children who have learning disabilities. Or a lot of your children are being born with autism on the lower spectrum. So I'm not against medicating. I'm just against the type of medication. Not every pill, supposed to do this, because everybody's personal physical body is not the same. I could take maybe what's the psychiatrist? Boost Bar for depression. I could take Boost Bar and I break out in a bunch of bumps or something, or a rash or something, and someone else take Boost Bar and they just develop breast nodules. You never know. You don't know what type of medication side effects is going to cause you. So I'm not against medication. I'm just totally against using chemicals to stimulate the brain rather than the herbal approach. Because
if you look at Chinese medicine, even though they send a lot of that medicine over here to our country, in their country, their doctors prescribe herbs at their hospitals. They have their hospitals. You go down and you get an herbal package for your illness. They prescribe herbal medication for your illness. They do not use all this medication that we use here in the United States, even though they perpetuate it here in the United States. But in their own country, they use herbal medicine for almost everything that's over there. And same illnesses that we have here, they have, but they don't use all this medication that we use. They have herbal medication. I know I tend to go to Oriental stores to get medication because, and they fix up herbal packets. You tell them what what the illness is, and they'll try to figure you out some herbal concoction for you instead of going and taking Vicodin and all those different kind of medications.
Yeah. They also grow up being taught about Vedic medicine, different herbs and whatnot, what cures what, they kind of have that built into their culture. And so did we until
we got here.
Yeah, maybe this last generation or two or three ago. I know my grandmother was still teaching about the different herbs and whatnot, put in your hair, what to take when you're sick. She used to make her own little antibiotic out of the
mine too. Own hair grease, everything.
What is that? But if you got that recipe, count yourself as lucky and whatnot. Yeah.
They have
one more thing when you mention the author. One more thing about the video you had posted about the guy from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Something small is in the black community that affects black men. Separation in the home, like black men going through divorces. You know what I'm saying? Like there's brothers be like, oh, my baby mom this or my baby mom that. That's a part of mental health too, especially if a female is keeping the children away from you. Or basically, like, let's say the mother moved all the way to California and the brother lived in Florida, or that's part of mental health when the father is there for the children and the mother is not.
And it started systematically. Brother, you are so right.
And divorces alone in the black community causes a lot of mental health. Because I know I have a little brother who passed away last year. I mean, the year before last, I'm sorry. And he committed suicide due to the fact that he was going divorce. He was going to have to pay alimony. His wife was cheating. He was cheating. They just had a newborn baby. He didn't know if the baby was his, but it was his baby. But and he played 4 years of football, so sports affects the black community in mental health. HGH, when brothers taking the steroids to get big, to get these scholarships, it's affecting them. And especially, I don't know if y'all remember that Will Smith movie where he did a documentary about NFL football players taking steroids. They was getting concussions. And they was committing suicide after they leave the NFL. So that's another aspect of mental health in the Black community, especially amongst the men, when we take our losses and how we deal with them. You know what I'm saying? Like you got the white folks who they jumping off buildings when they lose everything at Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? But the Black men, we got to be even stronger due to the fact we've been taking losses since we quote unquote came up on this land. Like we walked, we was taken from our tribes, the men and the women. We come to this land, get sold off. You start a family, your wife gets sold off. She in Arkansas, you're in Winston, North Carolina. Your children get sold off. You watch your wife get raped. You watch your daughter get raped. You watch your son get lynched. So the psychological trauma that we went through, our ancestors went through, is within us, and it's still within the community. So it's definitely traumatic, and especially in this era now, like. We just got to be stronger. We got to teach the youth to be stronger. Especially like, yo, you going through a divorce, brother and sister, put God first, stay strong. Your baby mom left you, it's going to be all right. Your baby father left you, it's going to be all right. Just stay here, because a lot of people are giving up. That's the main thing I wanted to say. A lot of people giving up, and that's not good. And they'll go into the drugs, and they'll go into suicide. And some go into homicide. Some go into rages and go throughout the neighborhoods, shoot up everybody. You'll be like, why is this young brother been mad? Because he went through this traumatic experience. Or maybe he went through one traumatic experience.
One experience too many, you know. But that was deep. That was powerful. That was very powerful. Because we act like a lot of times society makes it seem like Black men don't care about their children. It don't affect them that deeply. You know what I'm saying?
But a lot of that is systematic too. Because
absolutely,
in order to get a Black woman, in order to get help from out, they got to put the Black man out the house. They can't have a man in the house. It's a lot of dumb stuff going on, a lot of systematic stuff going on that creates that situation with our Black men, that makes them think that they're not a part of the family, that they can't be a father to their children. It's you can pay child support, but you can't see your child. All that kind of stupid stuff. So it's a lot of things going on that we got to fight.
Yeah, he did a whole year of that. We've been supporting my son. We didn't see my granddaughter for the whole year, and the courts made him pay the child support, and they also knew that he wasn't seeing his child, and he have a paid lawyer and all of that. Like, how y'all gonna take the child support but not demand that allows me to see my child? They came up with making up lies about, the child say she's scared of him and all. I mean, the mother she is ridiculous. She just despicable lies and stuff that she told, and my son had to be strong through all of that, judging him in the courts and all this craziness. But finally, just recently, last month, we started getting back visits, and he finally got a different judge after requesting a judge, because it was literally prejudice. This young lady is half Caucasian. She was running the show. Anything she said, the judge was allowing it. My son was getting so mad. I said, son, I know you want to break, but not yet. Believe me, it's gonna come around. And I'm saying that it was the spiritual energy that I put into that situation that made it move and transform into what it was. Because they was railroading my son literally for over a year, until I said, nah, I got to step in, because they definitely were going against constitutional rights and all of that as a parent. It was crazy. Off the chain. But yeah, our family was dealing with that too, and we just now got my granddaughter back into our hands, for our side of the family. Which, a lot of times the household that they're in is super dysfunctional. And the courts they went and saw the whole situation, and still gave the mother the power. It was crazy. That's just to explain a little bit of it. They really do be railroading our men in this court system too. I mean, and really putting them in financial situations where they don't have money to take care of themselves. Like, it's crazy what goes on with these courts. So every system that is available is a stumbling block for us. When it comes to us, it's a stumbling block.
But that's why, just like the brother said, we got to start creating our own places, our own buildings, our own alternatives, so that we can offer something different. So we can begin to develop. If it's just in one in one city, one in this city, one in that city, we have to stop, because if we don't, we're just gonna be.
Some of us have to be able to go ahead and qualify for the grants, go ahead and set up the right organization so that we can circulate the work through, because anytime we're doing something successful, if it's not under their system, they want to know why their hands are not in it. So at some point, it has to be created on a level where they can come do the inspections and whatever it is they need to do.
Right. And some of this stuff is just gonna have to start grassroots, not so much organizational, but as far as non-profits or whatever. We're just gonna start some programs, and we're just gonna invite kids in, and they can just opportunity to talk. Because and then we'll figure out how to get these grants and stuff. There are people who are willing to help us, grant writers. We'll have to find some of those people and say, "Go, this is what we're trying to do." Yeah, we got to start reaching out and letting people know what we.
We're going to reach out for professionals, like we need nurses, doctors, psychologists. We got to call.
Yeah,
we got to put out a call.
I wrote a program while I was inside, and nobody got paid. Everybody was on. We used people from interns and apprentices from hospitals who needed hours. They had to have so many clinical hours, so we asked them to donate their hours to our senior program. Come talk to our seniors. They were psychiatrists, they're podiatrists. All kinds of people, and we're asking to donate so many hours to our program. So we might have to go that route until we can get funded.
You have a program already established?
Oh no! I wrote this program while I was inside. This is a program that I wrote as a.
Oh, okay. So you have grant writing skills.
No, I don't, but I know some people. We can find some. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
We'll find some.
That's the main thing. I mean, I'm an ordained minister, so I can go out and find funds. My thing is, I'm not a grant writer, but if I were to get a grant, I could definitely put it to work right away. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well then we're gonna have to try to find you a grant writer. Then we're gonna have to find somebody who knows how to write grants and bring them on this show next week.
Yeah, because they have the.
I'll go for. I know a couple of people. I'm gonna see if we can invite them to the show next week.
Okay. Great, absolutely. Yay!
Hey, I say, powerful. That's powerful.
Yes. Do we have? Anybody else want to say anything?
I just say we just got to keep platforms like this going in order to be the change agent in the community. We have to keep, and we have to also hold accountable organizations. I'm lady president of the UNIA. Get them involved. The street law soldiers.
Yeah, they have.
10 years
already established.
Yeah, PLM. All these organizations. Because I'm calling a round table. I think I'm going to plan a round table within a month to get all the organization heads together.
That's right.
Get the heads together and bring them in the same room. If there's
please do.
Yeah, So, Brother Frank and I, the UNIA, we discussed that we're going to bring this round table to bring these leaders to the table so that they, if they have some type of bad feelings towards one another, we're going to discuss it right there, bring it to the
Yeah.
forefront, and then after that, come together to build the community as a unity. They often say, let's organize. Stop bumping your gums then, and let's organize.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
So we have these organizations also accountable to helping to build mental health facilities and facilities that help with the children, to help deconstruct the mindset and reconstruct the mindset of where it's supposed to be. So it's going to take us, not you, not me, not them, but us, in order to make a difference.
That's right.
So we hold in the organizations accountable. Those that are on here, we hold you accountable. We bring you to the table. What you going to do for your community? What you going to do for your women? What you going to do for your children? What you going to do for your men? What are you going to do as a generalized community network? We need to come together to bring about the cures in the land.
That's right.
Period.
Well said. Well said. I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Me too. I absolutely do. And the thing is, start recording, have a recording secretary, hold them to it, because we got it in writing what you said. Did we check off? Did everything we said we were going to do get done? We got to start holding our leaders accountable.
That's right.
Yes, we have to be accountable for what we say. Yes.
That's true. So that's a start, for real. And on that note, I think we can close on that note to say that this is not over. We're going to revisit this discussion, but we have a series of things to do. We have resources to gather. We got plans to make, and
we're going to see if we can't find us a grant writer.
That's right, a grant writer, and we look forward to the results of the roundtable meetings.
An inexpensive grant writer, though. Inexpensive grant writer.
Right. But like I say, we are looking for our grant writers because they're out there, and if they can donate some of their time, like if they can help with the frame, I'll put in some work with that too.
They can write themselves into the grant and they get paid. They can write themselves into the grant.
That's right. You write the positions, you create the positions, and you write yourself in. That's right.
Exactly right.
So, and once we get the name of it done, a template, we can create grants for different categories, like after school lunch for the summertime. You don't gotta be in school to get lunch. You know what I'm saying? What about in the summer? The kids starve.
They'll give us a little bit of funding. They'll give a little bit of funding just to take the children to field trips, take them to museums, take them to parks.
More stuff like
there's
that.
A brother named, there's a brother named Raheem. There's a brother named Raheem Shabazz. That's why I got my name when I took my shahada. My aunt named me Raheem. My name originally is Robert. You know what I'm saying? But either way though, there's an elder. His name was Raheem Shabazz. He was part of the Fools of Islam in 1972. He taught me do for self. 42nd in Lancaster, out of West Philly, at the bottom. I was there when I got out the Navy. This when I went through my separation with my baby mom. I moved back to Philadelphia. I was living with my father who didn't raise me. You know what I'm saying? We rekindled. You know what I'm saying? And during that time frame, I was just going through transitions as a man. So when Brother Raheem, I went and volunteered for a summer program because I was going to school at night and I was working during the day. The military was paying me to go to school. So I was doing my thing. My kids was babies. So I was able to make a little bit of money without having to work too hard. You know what I'm saying? Now my children teenagers, I gotta do everything I gotta do now. They shoe size 11 to 13.
Yeah.
But the whole point I'm trying to say is that
one shoe is $200.
Hey, look, I don't even want to talk about this. But he had an after school program. He had an after school program out West Philadelphia, 42nd and Lancaster. And God bless his soul, he passed away, but his daughters took it over and they still got it going. He was
That's
taking the
good.
kids to the pool parks because you know it's hot during the summer. They don't want to be sitting at the zoo, they want to go to the pool. So he'll have us monitor them, make sure they're good, and they get their snacks, their food. And this when I was with another whole woman, we did that for the children. You know what I'm saying? And he also in the building, he had a little museum. That's how I knew he was with the fruits of temple fruits Nation of Islam. He had pictures with Elijah Muhammad. He had pictures with Malcolm X Shabazz. Well, Malcolm X, he basically traveled. He'd been around, and he had a little museum of the arts and the crafts of our past, of our history. So that's what we want to do. Like we want to have multiple avenues within one building. We got mental health,
Right.
we got psychological counseling for the youth, we got sports and activities for the youth, we got anything we could do all in one. Because I know how y'all see it in Baltimore and Philly. You see how there's multiple businesses on top of one. Like how the Asians have it, they'll have the
Yeah.
nail salon, they'll have the hair salon, but not the hair salon, they'll have this
And they
and
got
that all
apartments
in
or
one.
built, apartments on top of. We only need one
Co-op.
building to get started. We only
Exactly.
need one building
One
to
building.
set it off.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Just
Exactly.
one to set it off.
Exactly. Because the brother Raheem, the brother, his building still stands. Him and his children, they took it over. And there's another bookstore out here in
That's
Norfolk,
good.
Virginia, called the House of Conscientious, right? I forgot the brother's name. This is when I was in the Navy. I used to go to that bookstore. This brother, he was a prophet because he predicted Obama was going to win. He said, "Not only going to win, he's going to win again." He predicted Obama winning the second election before he even won the first election. He passed away before the second election. He don't even know Obama got elected again. I'm not
Yes, he
saying I'm an
do.
Obama supporter, but the whole point of the bookstore that he owned was a conscientious bookstore. It's called House of Conscientious. He passed away. His daughters take care of it now. So that's the whole point. Is like we want to build generational wealth. Whether it's the children making $100 a week off our businesses, or $100,000 a week, or 100 million, who knows? But we want to
You want
continue
to
that
keep it
tradition.
open. That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. For sure. You had said something about the daughters keeping it together. Oh yeah, we don't have no libraries. Imagine we had our own library where
Yep.
we could
Those was our own libraries.
we can reach out and get like certain books, older manuscript books and different things like that, and make it like a slash museum, whatever. We just start creating.
Yeah.
But the first thing we got to do is get some help for our brothers in mental health crisis. Is there, what happens in Baltimore City if a brother has a mental health crisis? Say you call 911 for somebody.
They'll do an emergency EP. That's an emergency petition that they don't have to go get a judge to sign. They just pretty much can go ahead and have that, and they will go ahead and escort them to the hospital. And if they get into the hospital,
okay, so they take them to the regular.
They'll take them to the emergency room. Either
room.
John Hopkins or University of Maryland has a psych ward. John Hopkins have a psych ward. I don't think Bayview do. And they will escort them to the psych ward, and then they'll be evaluated by a psychiatrist. And they're asked the usual questions. Do you want to hurt yourself? Do you want to hurt someone? You know, those type of things. Are you on any substance, narcotics? If they answer no to all those questions and they say they feel better now, they can't keep them. They can go ahead and
let them go. Wow.
Yeah, they can go ahead and send them home and give them a card. If this happens to you again, give us a call. That's it.
Because they have rights.
Yeah.
And they can pretend like they're okay now just to get back out.
Yeah.
Wow. And so they go back to where they was. They follow the scenario. They go back to where they was, or they roam in the streets.
Even if you was to go get an emergency petition down at the courthouse, it's only 48 hours. After 48 hours, if they haven't picked them up by then you have to go back down there and do it all over again.
Do it all over again. I always see the juvenile facility on the news. There seems to be one juvenile building, and it's overcrowded, and they always show it. I can picture it in my mind's eye. It's just this building has something on the front, federal something, and it's a youth center. It's like a youth house or whatever. It doesn't look very big.
They have several youth houses, and now they call it independent living. They're putting them in apartments.
That's what I was trying to get. Yeah, that's the word. Independent living houses is the category in which the government has funding. Independent living. Now, that helps you get the house, but you still have to have qualified individuals like the nurse, the psych nurse. If you're gonna have psych patients in that,
you have to have a delegated nurse. You have to have a dietitian,
right.
And you have to have a case.
I'm gonna have to leave you all.
3 things. A delegated nurse.
Okay, Mother Gwen, we will see. Hopefully.
Okay, see you next week.
All right.
Yes, have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, those are the 3 channels that you need to have: a delegated nurse, and that delegated nurse keeps the MAR, which is a medication record. They keeps the MAR, and they go through the medication and make sure the MAR is in, the medications that they're taking and how often they're taking it, and if it's a medication for this or for that. And then they have to have a dietitian to make sure that there is a meal plan. You have to have a meal plan. You have to have policies and procedures always hung up on your wall in case there's an inspection coming in, and they have to look at your policies and procedures to make sure the house is ran by the policies and the procedures. And the policies is basically the policy. Yeah, the policy is basically a governmental policy. You look up what the government says in order to keep a building open. And you go by those policies, and your procedures is the way that you govern your house. If your house is to be open, they have to be up and at a program by 9 o'clock. That's 9 o'clock. They have to participate in the program. They have to do this. They have to make sure they take their medication. This, that, and that. All of those go where they can see them, and anyone come in the house as far as inspector can see that. Then everyone has to be certified with CPR, first aid, those credentials. But you just need a delegated nurse.
The workers just need CPR and first aid, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Anyone that's in the house, the person who's like staying in the house with them, if there's someone to keep an eye on them, they have to have CPR and first aid.
I think it's 1 to 2 people for like 6 to 7 residents. In the house, somebody that does overnight, I guess it's 2 people. Although one do it.
It's one, and if your hours are 3 to 11, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7, you only need 3 because those people going, one person to be in there 7 to 3. That person makes sure they get up and take their shower. That person makes sure they eat their food. That person makes sure that they take their medicine. If they're going to a program, that person makes sure this person goes to the program. And then by the time they come back, 3 to 11 shift starts. That person makes sure that they doing whatever they had to do. They taking their medications when they come back. Then if they have a wraparound program that all that's in the house attend that wraparound program, then they eat dinner, then they get a snack, then they take their night medication, they go to bed. Then that person from
Mhm.
11 to 7, make sure that they're safe, take their night medication, and that they are, that nothing's going on in the house dangerous. And it rotates. So you only really need 3 people.
Right. And that's because when I first got here, I actually got to Baltimore because I was offered a job to be the accountant and bookkeeper for my sister who had 3 assisted living houses. So I got to see the setup. I was the mock inspector to look for stuff to make sure it will pass the regular inspection. But I did that because I did home inspections through the notary industry. We also can work with title companies to do home inspections or whatever. So I knew what to look for and whatnot. And it's a funny story. As soon as I got there, I said, y'all ready? Because it was like a family business because her sons were like the workers or whatever. And everybody was 35. It was a nice setup. But it was a family business. And I knew they only needed 3 people at a time. Or no, they had like 7 people, so they needed like 2 but 1
So
if it was
can
like
rotate. If you want more, so you can rotate in somebody. If you have someone that if someone needs to take off, that you would have that backup. So the immediate, I mean, when you first start, you just start with 3 people, and did you build it up to maybe 6 or 7? That way you can have someone to come in if that person can't make it. But as far as grant funding, the money is out there.
Yeah, it's definitely there.
The money is out there.
Actually, if you have the right grant funding, everything written in, you don't even have to have the location yet because part of the grant money is to secure location. You know what I'm saying? So if you have the right grant, that's like the biggest part of it, and the government is still approving the grants, and once you get that one in there, that's like the super achievement. But like I said, that's a good goal, is to try to get assisted living homes. But my thing is, I remember my sister used to have a couple of residents that were mental illness patients. They were on medication and whatnot. I wasn't sure if she had to have the qualifications to deal with them, or was it still the basic like CNA skill, or did someone in the house have
You
to
can
be?
own any assistant house. You don't have to have no qualifications. You can own it, but the people who work in it has to.
Right. So like she didn't have to. She wasn't a nurse or anything. She had a nurse that she employed, but she only came by a couple times a week.
You don't have to have. I mean, just like me owning a bakery, I might not know how to cook cookies, but the people in my bakery would need to know how to make cookie pies or whatever.
Right. So you could run one house of like 6 people with 3 employees.
As long as they have their credentials.
Right. And so they basically they gave themselves and all of that. It's like
the owner of the program is state license that you have to say that this house is a recovery house for the mentally ill, second chances. This is a recovery house for the mentally ill. Well, you would have to have those license to run that house, to have that house. Not that you have the skills, but you also would have to have that dietitian, that delegated nurse, so on and so forth. Right.
And there must be some sort of a well, it's actually the application for the license. It's what's it called? An assisted living license or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably we can look into that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
There's someone here, and I mean, I think it's like $1,200. You get your license, and with that, you also get to name your building. You get your policies and procedures. Those type of things. You'll get those, and you also will be able to, if you want to pass out meds and without incorporating someone else to pass out meds, you get certified as a med tech. Yeah, so there's credentials out there, and it's just putting things down and getting things in order and get all the certifications or whatever you may need in order to open it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the idea. I mean, especially for someone like a couple that haven't had any children yet. If they wanted to start a business and that's their lane, I mean, that's like the perfect business because you get to live in the
So a
home.
lot of people do that through the foster care system. They get foster children.
Yeah, that too.
Mhm.
And you don't even have to have a home. You could have an apartment and have a foster child, right?
As long
You
as
don't
you
have to be
have
a
proper,
homeowner.
you don't have to own a home. As long as you have proper sleeping places. If it's a boy and a girl, they have to have separate rooms. If it's if it's two sisters, as long as you have the living space is clean and they're sleeping where they sleep at is either is appropriate. But you don't have to own a house or be in a house.
Right. There's so much opportunities and things to do. You just got to be focused, find a lane, and stay in it. But anything that you work at consistently is definitely going to happen. But we just got to figure out where we need to go first, But like we said, my first step is finding a good grant writer. You're going to call a roundtable meeting to get the focus on where everything is going. Yeah. And we just keep on meeting, having, updates on how things are going. And it's been another productive episode of Melanated Dialogue. Much needed melanated dialogue. We just really touched the surface of this, even though we got a good ways in on this subject. There's still a ways to go as to practical techniques and different things. Like, okay, so I wrote it down. Mother Earth, she gave us a technique that I'm going to leave you with tonight. There's parents that have difficult children out there to deal with or whatever. If you don't know what's going on with your child, it's an opportunity for you, right? So Mama Earth said that you act as the perpetrator. You are the one that is the perpetrator. You're the enemy or whatever it is. And you tell the subject, which is the child, the boy, the girl, the person in distress, the adult. You are here to help them. You want to listen. Pretend I'm the problem. And tell me how it made you feel. Empty your soul. Whatever happened to you, use that person to tell them how that act made you feel, whatever it was. As much as you can, empty your soul or learn how to empty your soul. If someone's giving you the opportunity to pour out your soul so that you can feel better, do it. Don't hold it in. There's no need. For what? We all go through things. You never know. Go ahead and give it a chance. Let that person be the perpetrator. I'm even going to try it. When someone comes to me this week in distress, because there hasn't been a week that's gone by where I haven't heard about somebody in distress or been approached by someone in distress. And I'm going to use that technique. And let's try to use it in our opportunity. And we'll come back and report. Because it's definitely effective. That actually would be something that a psychiatrist would use for their patient. That's what they do. Sit on my couch and tell me what's your problem. They're just like a mediator. Somebody you're talking to a stranger. It's easier for you to unload how you really feel to someone that doesn't know. Kind of thing. I've been there. I've done that. It's like getting on a bus trip to go to New York and someone sits right next to you and you get to talking. Those be some of the good, juiciest conversations ever. And you walk away feeling better, like, wow, hey, my life isn't as convoluted as I thought it was, or whatever, Or you find out, dang, I'm like secluded. I need to get out more, or whatever you get out of it. But when you talk to others that you don't know, it's definitely a healing process. But yeah, use that. Pretend you're the perpetrator and let them talk to you. Mama Earth, would you like to add anything to that before we close out?
No, I think we did a good job. I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this platform. We have to keep coming together to be that change agent in the community. That's all.
Absolutely.
I'm fighting cat.
And thank you for your consistency and coming through. Brother Raheem, do you have any closing statements?
I just want to thank y'all for letting me come on board, and let's get to work.
All right.
Salute both of y'all Earths, and salute everybody that's in attendance. And we in the DMV area, so we got work to do. So I'm a dreamer, so I believe I'm the type of person that really dreams, and I see things that other people might not see, and I really want to make this happen. And I believe it can happen. We really got to save our community. I mean, we have children and the grandchildren. Like, God, one day I might be a grandfather, and I want our children's children to do the right things and not fall into the traps of society or the spiritual warfare that we're going through or the systematic warfare we're going through. We want House of Conscientious libraries. We want black libraries because the public libraries stay closed. I'm the type of brother that stay in the library. I probably owe every library from Virginia all the way to Philadelphia. No lie. And they ain't never getting their money. They always send it at the end of the year to tax me. But the whole point is we want our children to open up black-owned libraries. Because in Philadelphia, there's a Black and Noble. You know how you got Barnes and Noble? There's Black and Noble in Philly. So at the end of the day, we want more bookstores just like that. And mental health centers and programs, institutions. So once again, I thank y'all for bringing me on board.
Absolutely. And thank everyone for tuning in, and those that will tune in on the replay. And once again, it's been another episode of Melanin Dialogue on the Tiny 23 Experience. Until next Sunday, salute to everyone. Peace. All right. Ashe.
Ashe.
All right. Ashe, y'all.